look forward to a day when there are no more firsts, when we're not remarking that the Speaker of the House is a woman.
It upsets me when I hear young women who say, oh, my mother was a feminist, I'm not. Well, you better be, lady, or you're not going to make it.
You can't have an expectation for young folks without giving them the map. You've got to show them where you've been and what then is their responsibility to carry forward that.
By the 1980s, many women were finally reaping the fruits of their labors for rights and equality. But those fruits weren't necessarily low-hanging. Some barriers had fallen and opportunities expanded, yet many challenges remained. In this episode, we meet some Nevadans who met the challenges. We'll also consider the future for young women across the state. We start our story in the 1980s. Evolving technology changed our world and tragedy rocked it.
1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
In 1987, President Ronald Reagan issued a statement heard round the world.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In our nation and across our state, the walls that existed for women were also beginning to crumble. More of Nevada's makers entered the political arena and took on positions of leadership. Sue Wagner is the first maker we'll meet. Wagner served in the Nevada Assembly, the Senate, and eventually as Nevada's first female lieutenant governor.
Sue is someone who's very supportive of women and always embraces moving women forward.
Sue Wagner was elected to the Nevada Assembly in 1974 when there were few female legislators. These women often learned from and leaned on one another.
I would particularly mention Jean Ford and Mary Gojek. We were there at the same time. We did agree on women's issues, social issues.
Sue Wagner supported issues related to ethics reform, the environment, education, protections for children, and women's rights. She also worked to find funding for domestic violence shelters.
A possible support was charging a $5 fee on a marriage license.
That effort was successful and the bill was pushed through. After 10 years in the Senate, Wagner ran for lieutenant governor.
I thought Sue Wagner would be the first woman governor.
Then when I was campaigning for lieutenant governor, of course, I was in a plane crash myself. That kind of changed my life as well. But I was alive, and somebody in the plane was not. Somebody died.
The tragic accident altered the course of Wagner's life and career.
She realized that while she could do the lieutenant governor's job, the travel, the flying, all those things, the plane crash just diverted her career.
But Wagner continued to serve the state and its citizens. She taught, mentored, served on boards and the Nevada Gaming Commission.
Having an advisor with the knowledge and the breadth of political experience as Sue Wagner was hugely impactful.
Our next maker, a Nevada native, has also inspired many future leaders.
I got engaged very early on in student government at the University of Nevada, Reno, just as I had in junior high and high school, and wound up my senior year being student body president.
Del Papa was raised to value the importance of education.
When I was a little tiny girl, my father would walk me to school, and I can remember carrying the little envelope that you would put 50 cents a week in for my college education.
After law school, Del Papa won election as regent in the university system in 1979. In 1986, she became the first female Secretary of State. 4 years later, she was elected as Nevada's first Attorney General.
The people of the state were willing to give me a chance.
Del Papa's work as Attorney General included the tobacco settlement, inmate litigation, consumer protection, and domestic violence prevention. She's an advocate for women, a proponent of the arts, the environment, and education.
You see how important it is, again, for all of us, whoever we are, wherever we are, individually and collectively, to do whatever we can to support education.
The next pair of makers we'll meet are politicians that happen to be from the same family. They represented the state in Congress and state government.
My mother, of course, is Barbara Vukanovich.
Nevada elected Barbara Vukanovich to the United States House of Representatives in 1982, thereby sending its first woman to the U.S. Congress.
Some of my earliest memories of my mother are my sitting on her bedroom floor collating materials for candidates.
In Congress, Vukanovich sought to represent the values of her constituents and the Republican Party.
Repealing the 55 miles an hour speed limit was really popular. I think it's important that we get as much of this history down as we can. And if you read about Barbara Vukanovich, well, you know, girls can go to Congress.
Next up, we meet Barbara Buckley, who came to Nevada in the early 1980s. Unlike the other women we've met so far, she didn't grow up around politicians or aspire to go to law school.
My first job when I came to Las Vegas was as a maid at the MGM. I had $800 and I was having trouble getting a legal secretary position. I'd been a legal secretary in Philadelphia.
Buckley enrolled in classes at UNLV, got a bachelor's degree, and then attended and graduated from the University of Arizona Law School.
I went to law school. I learned about public interest law organizations and legal aid, and that's when I knew that's what I wanted to do. So as soon as I graduated, I took a job at Legal Aid. That was in 1989, and I'm still here. I never thought I could be a lawyer until I had a mentor tell me, of course you can do it. And I never thought I could be a legislator.
In 1994, Buckley was elected to the Nevada Assembly. She served 3 terms as Majority Floor Leader. And in 2007, she made history by being elected the state's first female Speaker of the Assembly.
She knew the issues. I mean, she's a policy wonk.
I guess I'd like to think that I changed people's lives, whether through the law or through my years in the legislature, creating good policy. And maybe, creating opportunity, because that's what really motivates me.